Now, India and Russia are stepping up efforts to deepen bilateral trade as both sides are exploring some new areas of cooperation. The two nations have announced some dedicated pacts on mobility, health and energy. Now, the Indian Prime Minister laid out the economic cooperation plan till 2030, and this includes multiple agreements on labour and shipbuilding. The Indian Prime Minister also said that this will provide major employment opportunities, and the two nations will also work towards cooperation and skill building. Now, Narendra Modi also touched upon the partnership in critical minerals as a means to balance global supply chains, and he also hailed ties with Russia across global platforms like BRICS and the SCO.
भारत और रूस के बीच यूएन, G20, ब्रिक्स, एससीओ तथा अन्य मंचों पर करीबी सहयोग रहा है। करीबी तालमेल के साथ आगे बढ़ते हुए हम इन सभी मंचों पर अपना संवाद और सहयोग जारी रखेंगे। एक्सेलेंसी, मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि आने वाले समय में हमारी मित्रता हमें ग्लोबल चैलेंजेस का सामना करने की शक्ति देगी और यही भरोसा हमारे साझा भविष्य को और समृद्ध करेगा।
Meanwhile, President Putin also hailed the trade ties with India, boasting of a 12% trade turnover surge. He also highlighted the partnership in clean and nuclear energy, stating the growing use of local currency during transactions.
We are also seeing successful partnership in energy. Russia is a reliable supplier of oil, gas, coal, and everything that is required for the development of India's energy. We are ready to continue uninterrupted shipments of fuel for the fast-growing Indian economy.
The bilateral merchandise trade hit nearly $69 billion last year, a five-fold jump since 2021, and this has been driven overwhelmingly by the discounted Russian crude, fertilizers and raw materials. But the gap remains pretty stark. Exporters say that the imbalance reflects the untapped potential in sectors like pharmaceuticals, engineering goods, electronics and tech services. The trade bodies see a window for Indian industries to expand high-value exports and also to push towards the $100 billion trade target that's been set for 2030. And WION Siddhant Sibil has been tracking the story very closely for us and has sent us this report from New Delhi. Listen in.
Big day for India-Russia relationship. I'm standing just outside the Hyderabad house where earlier today the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Russian President Vladimir Putin held talks. The key outcome has been the economic roadmap 2030 that calls for balanced trade. That means reduction in the trade deficit. That means more exports from India to Russia. Focus also on health sector with announcements and establishment of a factory which will be India-Russia cooperation, and this factory will be producing medicines. Here in India, there will be a factory that will be producing urea. Also, the support by the Russian side to make in India defense, and also assurances that when it comes to reliable energy supply, the Indian side can depend on India. There were other initiatives that have been announced, which includes that the Russian side will be training Indian seafarers in Arctic navigation, and the Indian side announcing e-visa facilities for Russian tourists for 30 days. So a slew of announcements, but a big message of strong India-Russia relationship that has been time-tested. But today, there was not only a re-emphasis on that, but a focus on giving it further impetus at a time of major geopolitical changes. With video journalist Neeraj Patel, Siddhant Sibil for WION in New Delhi.
And also joining us on the broadcast, we've got our correspondent Dharamjot Kaur, who's joining us live from New Delhi as well. Now, Dharamjot, tell us the latest in terms of what has, of course, been happening in the meetings that the Indian Prime Minister has had with the Russian President.
Well, Well, Saleh, I lost you for a bit over there. We clearly have jammers in the area as the two leaders will be arriving here at Bharat Mandapam any moment soon. But just to quickly reiterate what this entire bilateral conversation was about, as my colleague Siddhant Sipal rightly mentioned. Again, what's going to happen here at the business forum today? This has been the India-Russia business forum that has been going on since yesterday, which is primarily focused on introducing and engaging in conversations between Russian and Indian industry leaders and business personnel across large and small and medium sector enterprises. Now, the biggest reason for this is the trade balance that both countries have been talking about, particularly India, which wants a greater opportunity and a greater bandwidth to export its goods across industries to the Russian market. Having said that, we also heard from the Russian President Putin in the press conference just a short while ago, where he mentioned how the Indian Prime Minister had brought up this particular conversation, how the Russian governance has taken note of it, and how both sides will now be working towards ensuring a greater balance in the trade deficit that India has with Russia in terms of bilateral trade. Now, the other sectors that have been talked about since yesterday and will also be a conversation for day 2 of this business forum, Saleh, is primarily all the sectors of India, including telecom, pharma, other consumer products that Indian goods can grow in with respect to exporting. The goal, as you mentioned, is $100 billion of bilateral trade by 2030. How much does India increase its export to Russia in the next 5 years? That is the big issue to watch out for.
I think that's going to be the focus of what will unfold. Thank you very much indeed, Dharamjot Kaur, for joining us from outside of Bharat Mandapam and getting us all those updates there.